Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the serial aspect. We did a we did an introduction to the serial aspect. This is going to be an introduction to how you use it in the present tense. And this is probably the most common tense that you're going to see in a Tuscarora verb. You see a lot of punctual, but you also see a lot of this serial present because most actions take place in this time. So the serial aspect, which is known as the habitual in Rude Blair's dictionary. So when you're looking up words and you're trying to find if what which suffix they're using for their particular root or stem, yeah, you'll see that it's under habitual, but it's called the serial aspect by Mattoon. So just depending on what you want to call it, habitual probably makes sense, or progressive because it talks about something. It refers to something that is ongoing or that will continue to happen. And this particular root, which is it has four different suffixes or serial markers. It can also talk about like what somebody was doing in the past, and it can also be like a general present tense. So if it's like, yes, he does his homework when he gets home from school. That's something that he does on a regular basis because he does his homework every day at 4. You run every Wednesday. You know something that you're gonna keep doing over and over again. It could be part of your life. It could have been part of your life. But if you're talking about the remote past, like something you used to do, you will use the serial for this. But that's the serial remote past. That's not used for this. So there's four different aspects, or sorry, four different serial markers. So one, you have it just ends in a S. There's a lot of rules with here for that. And then you have ha, which is a pretty simple one because if it ends in like a dental sound like a T or a the, then you just put ha at the end. And if you have a qua, a que, and then you have a que that's going to use a ha, then you just combine them and you get kahwa. And then the has the most common, so there's some rules around this. And then you have one, I just call it restricted because there's not a lot of them that are using this. There's some that use this, and they're not they're they are numerous, but there's not really a rule to like determine when this is used. It's kind of just used whenever. And I have put these in those forms already. So we're not really going to talk about the fourth one here because it just depends on what you're doing, what verb stem you decide to use. So the first one is the S. So to mention here before, there's a lot of phonetic rules that change depending on what the stem ends in. So this is used after most consonants. So for example, rik means to bite. So you would do riks. It would just be simple to just put that there, because it ends in a consonant. And if the stem ends in a glottal stop, so for example, to extinguish, so if you want to extinguish a fire, a'athwa, yeah, a'athwa would become a'athwa, but because of this rule, you're gonna get off, yeah, a'awaf, a'awaf. So a'awaf, that would be that form that you would say. So from here you could say ra, yeah, ra'athwaf, and that would be he extinguishes the fire, or he was extinguishing the fire, or he is extinguishing the fire. And if that stem ends in a vowel, for example, yutho means to plant. So in this case, yutho, the serial is a S. So because it ends in a vowel, you have to put you have to insert an H after the O. So Yitholz. Yitholz, he is planting, or Yitholz, you could say uh, yeah, Yitholz, she is planting, or she was planting, or she plants. And you could say Ra Yitholz. You could say Kithos, I am planting, I plant, or I was planting, and anything like that. And then this also applies for stems that end in a K followed by an O, and the O will basically become a W because of this rule. This is the same rule. And then also for sounds that end in T, ni, ri, or C, you will change all of those I's that you see, the E and T and T, ni, ri, and C. Those will become tia, nia, ria, and sia. I could not find any examples of C used with this rule, because the stem would have to end in S, I, and I couldn't find anything like that. The only one I could find in Re that actually works with this example is Wera Kari, which means to inhale. And Ni, we have an example with Ni, we have an example with T, and then we have an example with Ko. There's actually two, the verb Ko itself means to get, but Harako means to pick up. So Harako just made more sense to use because Ko is the entire verb, so it's a little bit too short to demonstrate an example with a full stem. So a'ana hoati, to search or to cheat. So this says ya. This says it becomes y before ya. So because of the sound, right, of this becomes a'atan, yeah, yes. Okay, so a'atan, yes. Shooting arrows was shooting arrows, shoots arrows. Sometimes forms like this can also be used for a noun creation. So in achuri or atsori, achuri with an H at the end, and this in the cereal with the cereal added at the end, it actually means edible or eatable. And another example following this same rule is a'atani, harako, to shoot arrows, a'atanias, harako, harakwas, harakwa, yeah. So harakwa, and then because it ends in the W, you put the there, and then because it ends in a vowel, you have to put the h there, and then because the S is the cereal, you put the S there. Same with this. Whenever you change it to a Y, you need that A, because you can't do you need that A for that epenthetic vowel to make it sound better, the joiner, and then you put the H there because it ends in a vowel, and then you put the S there because it is the serial ending. So we have a table here, so you can look at this. If you can find more examples, I have extended this one with extra examples here in case you want to go through this yourself and use it. And the second stem marker for this is ha. Ha, as I mentioned before, is one of the more common ones. It is probably the easiest one to use outside of ant, because ant is just, you just add ant, and it just really, you don't have a way to you just add it to the end. You slap it on the end, that's it. Same with this. The only rule here that was noted in the grammar was that if you have a stem that ends in a qua, let me see if there's an example of that. Okay, I don't have anything. So if you have a stem that ends in a que, a ku, and ha is the serial marker used for that, then that ha, the ha from the serial marker it combines with the ka, so they become a kuha. Now I'm trying to find an example of this. There's probably an example in the grammar, but I was trying to put as many of my own examples as I could, but I don't have anything for this. So I'll probably just update this in the future, whenever I can find something that fits this special rule. But one example I did find was a'atu. So a'atu went. A'atu went. To tell a lie is a'atu went telling a lie, was telling a lie, tells a lie, is telling a lie. And then third one is just the plain H. And this is the most common one by far. If you look in the dictionary for HAB colon dash H, you will find more entries than you will if you look for S, ha, or E followed by a glottal stop. So in this example, this isn't really a good example because it is a verb in that eating is a verb, but this is an adjective. Eatable. Achuri means eatable. But theoretically, if you wanted to say I am eating, then I think you might do achuri. So you might actually add it as at the end of this. But in this example, achuri, because it ends in a vowel. I'm assuming that. I'm not sure if the E here is a long A or not. I'm not sure. Now the O, there is a verb heya, which means to pass away, and then heyos. I'm not exactly sure here if this is an example of that. If heyos is an example of a stem that has a long U, but heya looks like it could be a long at the end. So this would be a case of that. So heyos. So O becomes And then whenever a stem ends in a resonant, so a resonant is a r, we, or yeah. Okay, I could not find any examples of anything ending of a stem ending in a ne or a wa or a ya that takes a H as its serial marker that I could find in the dictionary. I literally went through dozens of different roots to find this and couldn't find anything that matched the rules. So I don't know if the author who wrote this down was given examples and then she wrote them in their notes, or if there's just or if these just were provided and maybe the informant said, oh yeah, you also do an instance into these things, then or maybe it could just be if you create a new stem and it happens to end in a W or a Y or an R, then whenever you apply the serial marker to it, then the H will move basically before those things. So in one example you have Achanar. So in the dictionary, the H didn't show in these. Whenever you look up the present form, you basically just see the same stem used as the serial marker. You don't actually see the H, and I'm assuming that's because the H, it's just combined with the vowel. It just extends the vowel, but maybe they just say it so fast that it's disappeared in these examples. That's what I'm thinking, because if you look up Neothnar, then the plural you could say Nerothnar, and that means he cries. You could look up, and as you see here, Rachan, Rachanar. It just says it just says Rachanar. It doesn't say Rachanar. It says Rachanar. So Rachanar means that this H isn't even being used in the dictionary forms. I just put the H's here to demonstrate that this is the rule because this matches the rule into the R. So not many examples I can find for this, but there's also because this was actually the verb I was going to use for the R for something ending in the R, but then I saw the habitual form being used and I saw the E plus call stop, so that rule does not work. And the rakar is the same. Rakar means to sound or to. It also means noise, to emit a noise, and it ends in R, but it's the same as this. It's just a rakar. You don't actually. There's no H placed before this resonant. Now with E plus the glottal stop, this is restricted. You honestly just have to look in the dictionary, in Blair's dictionary, and just kind of guess and kind of find it if the verb has a E and a glottal stop at the end of the stem, and it says he is blah blahing or he was blah blah blahing, then that's likely going to be the serial marker for that. So to con means to chase. To con it would mean chasing. What's chasing is chasing, chases. And then ara kar et means leaning against or depending on, or depends on or leans against. So I included a summary table here with all of the rules that we have, and this should be accurate. If you can find more examples, great. If I'm going to put this in the grammar guide for Tuscarora, but I'm probably going to break this down by call it like serial aspect ending one, and then put the information for S, and then do serial aspect ending ha or H. I could put all of them into there, but it might make more sense to do ending one just so that people can find them in there. And we also have like I would have to improve this. But anyway, this is going to be the end of the video. So if you enjoyed it, I would appreciate any support that you have. Leave a like, share this with your friends, or subscribe if you're into it, or go to Shack and make an account and study these with us and go along, save some words, play some games. But if you're looking for language tutoring or language coaching, individuals or groups, if you're a heritage speaker trying to reclaim your language, if you're about to prepare for a trip abroad, whether you're just going as a tourist or if you're actually going to live there, I can help you achieve your goals for a very affordable rate. Just go to langshack.club and go to book a consultation with me, and tell me what you're learning the language for, what your goals are with it, and we can talk about it and have a consultation, and we can help you get on your way with your goals. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.